All right, welcome back to Meet at the Well. You guys, we have a very special episode today, our first podcast interview. We plan on having many more in 2026. So I am here, well, Justin's here with me, with Julia and Gino Barbaro, and they are parenting and life coaches. And you've written a book, Gino, called Happy Money, Happy Family, Happy Legacy. And that's something that I think we are building right now. So we're really excited to talk to you guys and yeah, just get into all the things homeschooling, finances, business, and how to deepen communication as married couples. How are you guys
Mhm.
doing today?
We're doing great. Thanks for having us on.
Yeah, thank you. We just found out that you're in Florida as well, so you're enjoying the warm winter.
Best
Beautiful.
time of the year.
Yeah,
Yes.
amazing. So I think my first question is, I just like to know a little bit of a backstory before we get into all the juice and the meat of the conversation. And we talk a lot on our podcast about biblical marriage, and we have quite an interesting story where we've been together for 15 years, but we've been married for 3, and we actually got baptized in August of 2020. What is it now? August of 2024. So I like to say we're like new Christians, but I was actually raised Catholic. I went to Catholic school for 13 years. So I just strayed away from Christ. And we've seen
Mhm.
how much our relationship with Jesus has honestly just transformed our marriage and our relationship. So I would love to hear from you two a little bit about your story and just your anchoring in faith before we begin.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting. Before we start, I'm going to say something that is actually pretty funny because if my wife had known you years ago, she would have come up to you and she would have said, "Well, why aren't you guys married yet?" And then you would look at your husband or boyfriend, fiance, and go, "Well," and it would be the most uncomfortable
Mhm.
conversation ever. And then 3 weeks later, he's proposing to you. I'm just going to say that's happened so many countless times in
Yep.
the community that I created. And she's laughing because she knows, and she can be so
Yeah.
annoyingly good at it. And it's the truth. We don't want to hear that.
Yeah.
And like, what is it? And you're just
Live
sitting on the
we want to live
sideline.
our life, our comfortable life. I think when my husband and I first really met, I was very, at the time, okay, I've definitely grown in my faith over the years, but at the moment where I was very Catholic, I was very religious. And here I met this Italian boy, he was beautiful and awesome. He had a great family, but his faith wasn't where mine was. And I
Mm,
think this is where a lot of couples get caught up is that we want them to be where we are. And I
yeah.
think we forget that we have to meet, whether it's the guy we're dating, whoever it is, where they're at. And we can't push it because for years and years, we've been married for 27
27 years.
7 years. And
Amazing.
and there are many years along the way especially when we had small children, that I was irritated. And he would come to church because I told him he had to. And I never let his faith grow in his own time, have his own relationship with God. And I always wanted him to have mine. And so this is a little something, when I let go of that control and just surrendered it and said, okay, it's not up to me. I let God take care of it. That's when things actually started happening.
Yeah.
There was a fire at the restaurant, which I didn't pray for, but it was the turning point of something that, you know what I mean? And so I had to let go of that. And so over the years of just growing together as a married couple, but also growing separately in our faith, I think that's important to have a solid foundation so that therefore we can live as we're supposed to in our marriage.
Yeah.
So Julia didn't let go of that, but she's got my arm held right now, and she's not letting me go. I don't know what she's holding me back from saying. I think most of what she said was true. When we got together, I was raised Catholic, but not really into the faith. But then, as we started doing things, as we started going to different events, as we started getting involved with different groups of religious orders, whether it was the Sisters of Life, whether it was the Franciscan Friars of the Renewal, I started getting around people who were living their faith, and I started seeing some really cool things. And I was raised by the fact that I have to make it happen. It's all about me. I need to do it. Once I started realizing that, yeah, I need to do it, but there's somebody else that's really pulling the levers and help me pull the levers, and you start seeing things come into your life, it's like, wow, okay, maybe I am not just the creator of my own destiny. Maybe somebody's out there putting things into my life. And I obviously have to put work into it and put the effort into it, but I don't think anything happens without without his effort and his will.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so good. You want to say anything about that?
Yeah, no, it's something that I think I put off for a long time. I think a lot of times we're just products of our environment,
Mhm.
and not really have. Sorry, we have landscaping outside right now, but not being around successful, long-lasting marriages, and a few that were, I would say, on the longer side of things. When times got difficult, kind of deteriorated and sort of fell apart. And I watched some people give up on their marriage. And one person really close to me, like a second mother to me, my grandmother especially, comes to mind. And yeah, for me personally, I don't think I was ever exposed to what a thriving and healthy marriage looks like. And not just that alone and of itself, but also what it looks like when there's faith involved. And, faith is kind of blanketing the home and kind of thriving in the home space as well. So for me, I kind of had a lot of excuses and kind of these preconceived notions in regards to marriage. And it took me a long time to kind of wise up and make some decisions for myself. And I think once we got to a place where Lauren kind of took the pressure off of me and just kind of let me fumble along the way and make my own decisions, is kind of where I kind of created this new identity and this new kind of idea about marriage and what marriage could be. And then after we took the plunge, it was like, my gosh, why did I wait so long to make this? Why did I wait so long to make this decision? Because our relationship really blossomed and really, really took off after we took a vow and we got married. And yeah, it was just, obviously you hear people say live without, any regrets, but if it's something that I could go back and do over, I certainly would.
Mm. Yeah. I think too, what you're saying too, reminds me a little bit of, it's important when we go into a relationship, we look to see what we were around growing up. My husband has a different story and I have a different story. And I think it's important to look at each story and say, wow, that's amazing. I didn't realize that you went through that, and just hear each other's story. For me, Irish family, everyone was divorced, everyone in the whole family. And it was just a lot of brokenness. And I came from a broken place when it comes to marriage. But what I took from that was my vow was never to get divorced. And I went into our marriage and it was good. I was like, oh, I'm going to go into marriage. I'm not going to get divorced. I'm going to figure everything out. But it was from a broken place. And so it's important to look to see why you're making these vows, as far as, I'm going to be married, I'm never getting divorced. Okay, it's good, but where is it coming from? And once we can heal that part of it, then we can actually, yeah, I'm going to be in a marriage and I'm going to stay married. And then it's more of a positive view of it, if that makes sense. And as like what you said, it's who we're around. If we're around people that are constantly bashing their husbands, and we're sitting in front of it, and it just becomes our life. Yeah, we're going to go home not the best wife. So it's really important. Everyone listening, just be aware of who you're hanging out with, who you're surrounding yourself. It doesn't matter if it was just one woman that you're best friends with, or your sister, and they're bashing their spouse. It's really important to either address it or come away from that relationship.
And the thing I'd like to say is, when it comes to the money aspect, because I love talking about making money and earning money and how money makes impact and creates impact. We also had a different money story on our background. I was more of the immigrant type. Both of my parents were immigrants. We were both savers. We both had goals. We had businesses. We were earning money. And on the other side of the ledger, my wife came from a family they were blue collar. They're hardworking. But they had no idea of what a goal was. They had no idea of planning for the future. So when both of those worlds collide, she leaves her tribe. I leave my tribe. There's a little bit of uncomfortableness there. And then all of a sudden we start earning money, and she's wondering and saying to herself, well, this whole money thing, I don't really know how to react to it. And my idea was we need to save for the future. We've got kids coming.
Yeah,
I
it's a lot
can't
of
waste any
questions.
money. And there's a lot of arguments around that. And honestly, it's money is not the argument. Money is just a symptom. We have to find out what the underlying causes were. And I think that is where it started, coming from two different backgrounds, not being able to communicate, right? Coming up with solutions. We're not actually connecting with your spouse and talking about, well, how were you raised around money? And what was your thoughts about money? And what were your fears and anxieties around money, as opposed to what I had going on in my life? You put those two people together, which are really, they're pretty much polar opposites.
Yeah.
You know, money coaching, we call them archetypes. I was more of a warrior slash tyrant, and my wife was more of an innocent. So you put one of those together, one dominates over the other, not for good or bad reasons, just the way it is. She gives me the reins, and for the next dozen years, I'm just there making all of the decisions, thinking that I'm making the right decisions. And when a conversation about money comes up, well, should we go on vacation, or should we pay money to fix our teeth, whatever the bill may be? Because I always think about the dental stories, and I think dentists are so freaking expensive. When you got 6 kids and they all need glasses and they need braces, the conversation is there, and that's the reality. And it's not like I don't want to do it for my children, but the scarcity and the fear pop up and go, am I going to have money to put them through college? And those aren't the right questions to have. The right questions to have are, money is there to be able to create impact, to be able to enjoy, but also to feel the abundance. But if I'm coming from a certain place and she's coming from another place, and we don't have that communication amongst ourselves, that's how you see all these conversations. And I think the last thing I'll say, my wife loves to say this, but if you don't have these arguments and they're festering, and all of a sudden they're just below the surface, but you don't have the conversations, all at once you just blow up and you don't know why. So it's really good as a couple to really argue, not to fight, but to have these arguments and have these strong conversations and put it out there, and don't keep it bottled up, because at one point you're going to start arguing and fighting, and you don't even know why.
It's a good idea to talk about why, if some people don't like to argue. There's a lot of insecurity
I love to
behind
argue,
there.
baby. I'm Italian.
Yeah.
I got my hands
know.
going on.
I'm
The whole
Cuban. I'm
security
always
of fear of abandonment. I'm just putting it out there. A lot of people pretend everything's good.
So is
because of
arguing
that.
too hard of a word, or what should you?
Oh, you
What's
should
the
have the
word?
conversations.
Okay,
And
conversation.
if you don't agree, it's okay.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
just respect. I think it's, respectful dialogue, and also not, because we actually took a year apart prior to us getting married, and it was that we weren't bringing things to the table and having a conversation. We were just sweeping things under
Keeping
the
it
rug.
safe. Yeah.
Exactly, right.
Yep.
And
Yep.
when we got back together, we went to couples therapy, which I think was super helpful. Got on the same page, but I think the biggest thing that we learned was how to communicate with each other and how to not let things build up. And speaking to the past, I never saw that. I mean, my parents are still married, but I saw a lot of dysfunction when it came to equal communication and just respecting the spouse. And it's interesting because I'm actually a daughter of a Cuban immigrant, so I can relate a lot to you, Gino, and just you work hard, you save your money, you hoard it, you secure it, and you definitely come from blue collar working family where there's no structure, there's no system with money. And I think the biggest thing, it's interesting you said safety, because I think that's the root of everything, is we just don't feel safe in communicating sometimes with our partners, bringing hard conversations up. We don't feel safe with money because of our past experiences or because of how we were raised. And one thing that I've done in coming back to my faith is really realizing that God is the ultimate provider. And I was looking for safety. I've been running my own business for 7 years. So I was looking for safety in the business, in the next client, in the launches. And one of the things that so deeply supported me, and I think has healed that safety piece, is finding rest and safety in God, and just knowing, that He is the ultimate provider. So I would love to know how you bring those kingdom money principles into communicating together as a married couple. And is there anything that you guys have had to learn together in that? Because I feel like even in the church, the Catholic Church, I feel like it might be a little bit different, but I've noticed that in Protestant church, money is like a conversation that no one's having.
Nobody has
Or
it.
very distorted. And I
Yeah.
feel like Christians are struggling as a whole with money, and it really is, it's breaking up marriages. So
Yeah.
I would love to hear what you have to say on that.
My wife's got a
Yeah.
ton of notes over here. She's been
Okay.
scribbling
This
the
was from
whole
our
time.
previous podcast,
Yeah.
and I'm like, oh, that was
Let
good
it
to bring
rip.
that in.
Let it
No,
go.
I think what you said is so key, because I think we look for safety, we look for security in other people. And I know that is a major issue when we get married, is we have unmet expectations. We put all these expectations, especially us women, we put them on our men. Take
Yeah.
care of me. You know, Gino mentioned he was what are you in money coaching? You're a tyrant and I am a innocent. And the tyrant is looking to save someone. The innocent is looking to be saved. And so we put these expectations on people, and they always fail us, always. Even if they're the best husband in the world, there's going to be moments where they were just like devastated by something. And I think that's our priority, is our husband, is our spouse, is our parents, whoever. And I think our priority should be God, restoring that relationship with God first. Because once we do that, then we realize that we do have a safety net. We are safe, we are secure, we are completely loved. Do you know what I mean? And so once we heal that part, then our spouse is just like, wow, we can freely love him. He can freely love me with all my faults. You know, right now we are clashing awful. Like we look terrible together right now.
Your fault. You changed your shirt. I had
it on, and I have a leopard print. You know, there are moments. But my point is, like, we have to realize first and foremost that we are loved by God.
Yeah.
Because unless we don't, we will never find the relationship we're looking for. We will never be satisfied in a relationship. And so how it goes into the marriage is just that. I mean, we spent years not believing that, not knowing that. And yeah, we had some difficult moments, because like you had mentioned the safety thing, but just the feeling of being abandoned. That's like a major issue with a lot of people. And so we don't want to talk about money. And you're right. None of the churches talk about money. That's like a number one thing to argue about in a relationship. And no one has a solid program in the church for like pre-Cana, before you get married. And I hope to change that someday, because I think it's such a simple conversation. Talk about your past. Tell me about the story about money, how you grew up, your fears, everything under there. And I can tell you mine, and we could just listen. And now I know, after all these years, why my husband freaks out over a bill, or why he reacts a certain way. I understand it. So I know it's not a personal attack. It's a fear-based attack. And now we can talk about it.
So this is the issue with money. The issue with money is that most people have a lot of shame around money. Maybe their self-worth is lower. So honestly, if you don't think that you're a product and you're an image of Christ, you're going to have some identity and some self-worth issues. You bring that into the money conversation. In society right now, men, we're supposed to have it figured out. So if we don't know how to do money, we feel like morons, and then we have to figure it out unconsciously. Then we're looking at it and we feel dumb and we feel stupid, and we just push it to the side, and we don't really attack the problem, and that continues to perpetuate it. And for anybody out there, I mean, go back to when you were a child. Just listen to the things that you heard about money or you didn't hear about money. So some of those little money bios that you had when you were a 6-year-old, your first memory. We have money traumas growing up. Like you just said, Lauren, you were told that you need to save money, scarcity. That's a pattern, a behavior, or a belief that you were imprinted when you were young, unconsciously rewriting itself all the time. So when your husband is like, you know what, let's go on a vacation, your default may be, okay, we can't. We have to save money. We can't afford it. I have to put it into the business because I need to make more money. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's just your pattern. All I want people to realize that it's an unconscious pattern or belief. If you'd like to change it, you have to be aware of it. You have to be aware that it's conscious and really discuss it and say to yourself, well, do I have to live that way? I mean, can I enjoy my money? I mean, understanding what money is, you have to rewrite what money is to you. To me, money is just a tool. Money is just a result. Money's there to create impact. Money doesn't corrupt somebody. It reveals somebody. These are all things that I believe. So if I believe in those things, and I trust me, I didn't think of that around money even 10 years ago. It was probably the total opposite, but it has been a healing journey. It has been that whole revolution around it. We did become money coaches because we had a terrible relationship with money amongst ourselves. I was making a ton of money. And people think that, well, if I make more money, it'll just, everything will get better.
Yeah.
And everything does not get better.
Mhm.
Things actually may get a lot worse. So that's not the solution. When I wrote Happy Money, Happy Family, Happy Legacy, it wasn't that money is going to make you happy. It's that I want people to focus on making money in a happy way. Like you two are doing a podcast right now. That's happy money. That's something that's joyful, that's passionate, that's purposeful. That's what happy money is all about. It's not that the money that you're earning is going to make you happy. It's the thing that you're doing. The reason why God put you on this planet. If you can focus on that, you can create more happy money. It's just a result. You're ultimately going to blow up. Like, take a look at Elon Musk. I mean, the guy's surrounded by happy money. I don't think he even cares how many billions of dollars he's worth. He's just going on to the next thing. His happy money is creating legacy, solving these massive problems, and really creating impact for the next generation. Whether you can agree with him or disagree with him, that's up to you. But when I look at somebody like that, he's a person who's focused on just creating happy money and creating results. And I think if we all started looking at money and earning money and creating impact in that way, I think a lot of things would change in this country.
Yeah, that's good. That's so good. I like my brain's going to, because we are in a season of building. We just started the podcast. I've done coaching solo for the past 7 years, and God has told me to lay down my coaching business as it is and to basically build with Him. And that's new. And it seems like you two are building this together. You are building a family. You've built a family. You're building a legacy. And you've built a business together. And I don't even know how to phrase this, but I almost just want to pick your brain of like, how do you do it? How do you keep the intimacy, the love, and also build something that is
So
joyful?
hard. It's so hard because even
not that hard.
Listen, even this morning, my pattern or my behavior is I need to get this thing done because it's life or death. I need to do these videos because if I don't do them, we're not going to make money. And it's also one of my values that I grew up as a young adult in a family where we owned a restaurant and I worked my ass off. And I was all about responsibility and about control. So my unconscious pattern or behaviors is I need to do this thing. I can't waste time. I need to get it done. So this morning I said to my wife, I need to do these scripts, these videos. When can we do them? And I was getting agitated. And she kept telling me, why are you getting agitated? And I'm like, I'm not getting at. And it was, so you're always going to make these mistakes.
I like that you brought that up because the thing is, and this is why we're still married, is because we're laughing about it.
Well, and actually,
I want to put that out there because when you were getting irritated, I knew the reason because I wouldn't have known it, let's say 10 years ago. Okay. I just want to put that out there. I know it now because I know in his head he has to get
survival mode for me.
He was in survival mode. He was very irritating. And I was sitting there like, all right, I could let it go, but I could push it a little bit. Right. And so I pushed it a little bit because I wanted him to reveal to himself, hey, I'm acting like an idiot right now. You're kind of jerky this morning. Let's be honest.
Well, a little bit, but you were jerky too, weren't you?
Yes, but it's important that we acknowledge that,
Yes,
number one. And I don't think we would have had that conversation 10 years ago or even 5 years ago where I'm looking at the situation from his view for a minute. It's like, okay, he's very frustrated.
And I actually apologized. I came up
again,
I actually apologized
because he was aware. And I think that's because people always ask us that, how do you work together and live together and raise a family together? I could never do it. I mean, I hear that many times from people. I could never work with my spouse. I'm like, you already work together. You're raising a family. You're living together. You're sharing your space. And it's ultimately about respect and respecting where they're at the time, because we're, like I said earlier, we're always on it. We're on the same path. We're not, or what's that phrase? Be on the same page. And I think that's inaccurate because there are some times where my husband's like on 3 chapters ahead and I just haven't caught up yet, or vice versa. So it's important to just meet each other where they're at in the moment. Yeah. And I think that's really ultimately the key.
Lauren, I want to share something really quick with the listeners because this is important. And I'm a student of this, and yet I fell into the trap. And this will help anybody trying to figure out what's going on in the country. And it's really about the brain and how the brain works. There's three parts to the brain. There's the croc brain or the reptilian brain. That's the most primitive part. That just reacts. I just reacted this morning. I was in survival mode. I need to make money for the family. I need to do these videos. If we don't do them, harm, right? It's either fight, flight, or freeze. I was in the fight mode. My body got pumped with cortisol and adrenaline. I went from a parasympathetic to sympathetic. I was stressed, right? The second part is the emotional part of the brain, right? That is the part where you have emotions, you have feelings. And unfortunately, that's where a lot of people get stuck. When you're trying to make decisions about money, you're making decisions based on emotions, right? And that's not a good place. I was making that decision this morning emotionally also. I'm like, well, if we don't do this, I have to do this. I calm down. It takes about 20 minutes for your brain to go from your emotional state to the prefrontal cortex, the neocortex, prefrontal lobe, which is the rational part of the brain, where most people think they're making these decisions, which we aren't. When I calmed down 20 minutes later, my brain had a chance to reset, right? And I was like, okay, what did I do wrong? How can I reassess that situation? And it happens in business all the time. You may come up with an idea and you don't understand what's going on, why you can't come up with a solution or a rebuttal. It's because you're either in the crock or the emotional. Just take a step back. There's a stimulus and there's the response. What happens in between really dictates how your life plays out. I mean, if I didn't come to the prefrontal cortex and say, man, I made a mistake. I just should not have overreacted that way. And what can we do? What happens if I wait a couple days for these videos? It's not the end of the world. That takes maturity. That takes also, humility, right? Those who should be humble shall be exalted, and those who should be exalted shall be humbled. If you want to bring that into a biblical perspective, and that's hard for a lot of us. I've got pride. I want to get these things done. I need to make money. But my rational brain goes, bro, it's only a couple of days. What's the worst thing that can happen? And that's the reality. If you can look at it from that perspective and say, well, okay, I'm going to act bad. It's just going to happen automatically. I can't stop that reaction. That's just how I'm wired. But do I have to react that way to her? And if I do, can I at least admit that I made a mistake and say, I'm sorry?
Yeah.
Why are you smiling at me like that? What's going on? Huh?
You told the story twice. I thought that was interesting.
It just bothered me. I just acted like an immature child.
But
can't
I
believe
think
that.
I think that's okay in a relationship. I think it's okay to, yes, we have these weak moments where we're how you react. You haven't done that in a while, and I think that's the beauty of relationships is that we could move on from it, and I accept apology and literally
You're done.
and
Like,
and
it's done.
give
You don't have to
yeah.
stew on it.
and just
Yeah,
let go of it.
we had a similar situation on Tuesday. I was hosting my first Bible study and I had like 9 women coming over to the house and he went golfing and it's like 3 o'clock and I'm just like, where are you? And he has to pick up our daughter from school. And yeah, it was just like that. Like
Yeah.
literally it felt like death. Like
Mhm.
I need everything perfect for these.
Yep.
And I really didn't need everything perfect, but in my mind, it's like, I need everything perfect
Yep.
because I'm hosting and and I've never met most of these women.
Mhm.
And yeah, and yesterday we go on walks a lot. Like if we
Mhm.
feel tension, we usually don't talk about it until we're walking. And I feel like there's something to movement and just being able to
Mhm.
talk and like let it out, you know?
Yeah, we always walk it out. Yeah, and we were just on a little bit two different pages.
Mhm.
Exactly.
I had everything mapped out, but we just weren't on the same page. And yeah, it's just
I
like
didn't know that map.
Well, you have that's the thing. You have two different ideas
Expectation.
of what perfect is, right?
Mm-hmm.
Even for with everything, what your ideas and my husband's idea, they're so different, and that's fine. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, and it all ended up working out anyway. And yeah, it was just, it's actually like rather than looking at it from a negative perspective, it was just a chance to kind of hash things out. And it's just like, okay, well, next time we'll do things a little bit differently, and
Mhm.
just let me know how you're feeling ahead of time. And it was just a chance to kind of grow, more or less. Was just like
Yeah.
um, another little piece to the puzzle. And we'll address it a little bit differently next time and just move on from it.
Yeah.
Well, when you say you want everything to be perfect, this is what I always ask myself. Now my children ask me this question, so just watch how you raise your kids, because then they end up coaching you. What is perfect? You want it to be perfect. What does that look like?
I think for me in that moment, you know, I've had to like from the coaching space that I was in, it was very, it was all about self. Like it was just like, I mean, it was the feminine, like embodiment, goddess worship space, and it's all about self idolatry. And now I feel like I read this book, Eve in Exile, which completely changed my life this past year. And one thing that stuck out for me was the gift that us as women have of creating a home that feels like a sanctuary for our husbands and our children, and hosting and just being able to create spaces for people to gather and feel loved and nourished. So I think for me, it was that of I just wanted our home to feel inviting. Like that's very important to me. And then more than anything, I was leading the Bible study, and I've led so many Zoom calls up until this point. But I haven't really, and God's really calling me into that this year of events and in-person things. So I was a little nervous, to be honest with you. I was just like, I've never done this in this capacity. These are women that I see at the park that I haven't really met yet. We all just kind of got together through a Facebook group, and I'm the one leading this. So there's also that, you know, I was raised Catholic, so I was raised reading the Bible and understanding the Bible and understanding apologetics. But I think because I turned away from Christ for 10 years, I have had to relearn a lot of things. And my faith now is just so much more strong. I mean, I was raised Catholic, but there was no reading of the Bible in the home. It was just, we go to mass to get the tuition reimbursement. So there was also that fear of like, do I know enough? Like, are these women, you know, going to look at me and just, I'm sharing about Eve and the temptations and sin and all of these things. And yet I was a deeply sinful person and have had to repent for a lot of that work. And but what's crazy is those women were, as I was sharing my testimony, those women were so just, they received it so well. And they also received so much from the way that I taught and opened up dialogue. And it was really just like a confirmation from God of like, this is where I want you. So yeah, I think that's like, I think it's that is like, I was nervous because of the expectation I was placing on myself, if that makes sense.
Yeah, of course. And it's interesting.
Home,
yeah. No, I love everything you said is so accurate to pretty much every, I'm going to say women because we're women, where we want everything to be perfect in our own head. But in reality, what everyone else needs is just our authentic self. And so it's the messy version, which we don't want to show anybody because we're ashamed by it or whatever it is. And even like your past life, that's part of who you are right now. And I think that's something that people need to hear. Even when we would be around his real estate group, I always thought it had to be this perfect wife with the kids. Everything had to be perfect. It was once they really got to know us, they thought we were real. I'm like, I need to show the real us because that's where you're going to change lives, is just to be like, I'm not perfect. My life is what it is. And I think, a lot of us women, especially because when we raise kids, I think we get into this, this way of being controlling, because we do at some point we have to control, otherwise our kids will die, right? They need us to feed them and take care of them. And so we get into this control of being responsible for everything on every level, basically. And at one point we realized, oh my gosh, thinking I'm in too much of control, and I have to let go of that. And I have to let God lead. And that means sometimes letting go of perfection. And it's really uncomfortable because we were raised a certain way, and you know what I mean? And my gosh, I mean, when my mother-in-law comes over, the house has to be perfect. And my kids are like, Mom, are you past that yet? Grandma does it. It's okay. I'm like, everything has to be good. Go clean the laundry, like clean out the laundry room closet. You know what I mean? Like stuff like that. And it makes me laugh now because it's that perfect. I have to be perfect in her eyes when ultimately I'm looking at the wrong person, like I said before.
And just to touch on that real quick, it's interesting because I had a call with a coaching client, and the perfectionism thing is like really deep, I think, with women. And she had a moment with her daughter, and she was feeling a lot of shame. And obviously, sometimes we're coaching clients, and we're like, "Oh, I need to hear that too." But I was just like, God actually doesn't expect perfection out of us. He just wants our presence. So for
Exactly.
us to expect that from ourselves or from our
Yeah.
spouses or
Yep.
from our business and what we're creating, it's so unrealistic. And
Yeah.
the person that matters more than anything doesn't even expect that from us.
Right. Right.
I think that being said, though, men want and strive for perfectionism as well. I'm just saying, let me say this for honestly, for us getting on social media,
Yeah.
like, women have to have their hair perfect and all. Well, we have the same insecurities as you do. I think men don't bash other men. Like, I'll never go on and say, "Hey, bro, man, what's up with your hair?" But I've seen women do that. It's the weirdest thing in the world. Like, I don't care what a guy looks like. It just really doesn't make any difference to me, sense to me. But I see that women have that passive aggressive thing going on. Yeah. So that's where maybe you guys have to work amongst yourselves to say, "Hey, perfectionism, let's not like judge ourselves." Because I don't see a lot of men, maybe I may be wrong, but I won't ever go on and criticize a woman for how she looks. And I won't do that for a guy either. That's just how I see it. But I see a lot of women doing it to other women. It's very strange.
Sue us who you hang out with.
Maybe
women. This is for all of us women. Who are you hanging out with? Who are you getting advice from? You know what I mean? I think that also plays a key in your life, right? Because if I'm around people that are criticizing, we hang out and then we leave and I find out they're talking behind my back about all these little things, that's someone I don't want to hang out with. Even if it's like our kids are best friends. We have to be super, super cautious about who we're with and who are our friends and who are, you know what I mean?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Yeah. No, it is widely different between men and women.
Yeah.
But men do want, you're like that. Like even just to set up this podcast interview, like that's like the one thing is I'm just like, let's just get it done. And he's very much like, no, it has to look good. It needs to be perfect. And you're stepping into social media now. He hasn't had a social media since like you were 20. Yeah. And so I don't know, Gino, if you have any advice for him, but he's like coming
Yes.
out into the space,
I'll say one thing that changed my paradigm about doing all this crap, because it can be crap at times, but it can also be beautiful. Purpose over popularity. Just lean into your purpose. And don't worry about how many, and this is hard for me. Don't worry about how many likes, how many thumbs up, how many subscribers. It's really painful because for us, we don't know it, but intuitively we think we should know it. And it is a survival mode because it's not the amount of likes, but it's the amount of people that can come and sign up with us. But if you really just lean into your own purpose and what you're trying to accomplish, and really ultimately, I think we are all here. Once we've hit a certain financial freedom number, we're really all here to help other people. That's where you get joy from. What I've learned over my experiences, when I was working really hard, I could only really help myself, maybe my family. Once I hit a certain dollar amount, I'm like, okay, I'm comfortable enough. Now I can start this Jake and Gino community to help real estate investors go out there. Over 90,000 units. They bought over $5 billion. I mean, it really made a big difference. And I think that's where I derived a lot of joy from. It was from the coaching space. It was from the personal development space, helping other people. And then we started this Barbaro 360 company where it's really trying to help families. Families with financial intelligence can change the world for the better. If they can experience what we've experienced and all of a sudden use money as a tool and try to figure out what they're here for and try to help others, you're just expanding it. And I think so. To answer your question on the whole social media, lean into what your purpose is. Let people feel your passion. Let people feel what you're trying to accomplish. You'll be attracting the right people. We're trying to attract families who are entrepreneurs, who are business, people in the business space, who are homeschooling their kids, who want to really have a better relationship with money. If I can really lean into my purpose of what I want to do and how us as a family wants to impact them, sooner or later, it does take time. We just have to continue. And that's why if you're doing God's work, you're not going to quit after a week or 2 weeks of just not having any likes. You're going to continue to refine. You're going to continue to get better. The lighting is going to get better. The mics are going to get better. Your whole entire show is going to get better. And it just takes time. But if you lean into the purpose of what you're doing, that'll give you a lot of inspiration.
I like that. And I think too, to lean into that you both have different gifts. Because I think you need that in a partnership, right? You need, one of us is really into the lights and all of that extra extra little things and the other person's into the content. And I think you need all of it.
Mhm.
And so a lot of times we're like, why do you spend so much money, or why do you spend so much time on whatever? But meanwhile, we should be focusing on what we should be focusing on. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And we know that sometimes, but for some reason we still nag about it or whatever it is.
Yeah, and to your point, you really do want to have great quality. You want to have great
Yeah.
sound, but at the same time, I think it's okay not to have it today. And that's really hard for me to say because I'm the perfectionist as well, but I'll let it rip. But the only way you can learn, and this is how you change your mind, you're not really making mistakes or problems,
Yeah.
right? Those are only opportunities and to learn. Most of us want to be perfect and we want everything to be just right, and we never launch.
Right.
That's the problem, right? I think you need to launch. And then as you launch, we've been trying to figure this company out for the last 6 months. We haven't really understood what our whole mission, what our whole message, what our whole vision is.
Content out. I think that's the thing, is that we're doing the
Well,
work.
by doing that,
Yeah.
you start
When you can
figuring it
pivot.
out and you start getting
You pivot.
feedback.
Yeah.
You're going to get feedback in 3 months and go, you know what? The audio wasn't as great. And if you're a person who has low self-esteem, you may take that as criticism and go, what does he know or what does she know? But if you're just open to it and try it out and just continue to pivot and continue to get better. Why are you laughing? What did
I don't know.
She's like, I can't believe you're saying this. I've got this all recorded because it's
Sure.
really challenging
Well,
for
it's
me.
true. It's how, I mean, that's,
Yeah,
yeah.
there's a lot of truth in that. We say it all the time. Like, we are literally flying the plane as we're building it.
Yeah.
Which I think is a great way to learn, because for me personally, I think if it weren't like that, um, you kind of fall victim to like paralysis by analysis.
Yes.
There's so many details, and even just in the last few months, I've found myself kind of running into that issue where it's like there's so much to learn, and I've had to take that lesson from her where it's like done beats perfection any day out of the week. So yeah, we're just, flying the plane as we're
Yeah.
building it. And I think a big thing for us too is well, for me, I would say, is just showing up and being authentic and genuine, because I think there are a lot of people out there on social media that are kind of going about things the wrong way. The authenticity and being genuine is a big piece for me. And ultimately, it's what our mission and what we're after here really isn't for us. The greater mission and the greater cause it's for God. It's God's calling for us, and that is the ultimate goal, is to bring people closer to God, bring couples and marriages closer to God, and to help other people implement where our shortcomings were, and kind of how to sidestep that, and just improve people's relationships, not only with themselves but with God as well. So that's what's in the back of my head, at least. That's really what I keep telling myself, is it's for a bigger mission, and it is going to be uncomfortable. There's going to be a lot of challenges and a lot to learn, but yeah, it's for a bigger mission that's at play here. So
I want you also to keep this in the back of your mind. Everyone out there is winging it and figuring it out. If you think somebody isn't, once again with Elon Musk, his first couple rockets blew up, was in a hole for 100 million bucks. He stuck with it. He didn't quit. I mean, that's the thing. Like, he was figuring that out, and now he's going to be hundreds of billions of dollars with SpaceX. But in the very beginning, it was a disaster. And I think if everyone realizes that, well, they don't really know it. They're just winging it and they're figuring it out.
Family life.
Yeah.
It's
Kind of life in general,
parenting.
everything in general. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, family life and business life mirror
the same.
it's such a mirror between values, mission statement, vision. It really, I mean, there are systems within each that are really so complementary.
Yeah.
Yeah. I kind of want to ask about that because we are pulling our daughter out of school. She's in first grade, and it's always been on my heart to homeschool. I'm too aware of too many things, I think, at this point. So you guys homeschool 6 kids.
Yep.
How do you manage a business and homeschooling? And how old are your kids? Like, what's the age range?
Yeah. So they're from 26 down to 11.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah. So we still have 3 in school and 3
in
out.
school. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And you did you always homeschool?
We
Like when did you
did.
start?
We've
Yeah.
done it from the beginning. And
Wow.
yeah, like Gina said, it was not the popular thing at the time.
Yep.
We didn't have the internet. We had nothing like that. So it was very different.
People make fun of me. It's not like I'd be ridiculed at my restaurant.
Yeah.
I'd have contractors coming in going, "Well, your kid's going to
It was
school," and they're
required
like,
back then.
and it's the irony is after years, one of them called me back and said, "You did the right thing,
Yeah,
homeschooling
for
your
sure.
kids."
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate because it's very, very difficult. And it's one of those things where you have to lean into your faith and you have to actually trust your spouse. Because when she said it, I'm like, dude, we already had home births. We have to have homeschooling too. My family's like so against this. Like my tribe is like, what are you guys nuts?
Yeah.
And it was really hard for me. And I've got superintendents of schools coming into the restaurant going, "Where are your kids going to school?" And I'm like, "We're homeschooling," and that was embarrassing.
My wife's
And
schooling her.
yeah, and teachers and
He
all
did
the
not have a
questions.
degree in teaching.
Yeah, it was just
That's important.
really, really challenging for me. But if you're,
Mhm.
we actually on certain areas of our lives, we really had really good communication, and from that perspective,
We had
I
trust.
trusted her.
Yeah.
I trusted her, and then I saw all the kids who were being homeschooled. I'm like, these kids are really good, like really well-behaved
Families
kids.
were beautiful families. I
Yeah,
think that's ultimately what put you over. It's like, okay, we could do this because the
Yeah.
families were connected. They, had the traditional relationship, the marriage, and it was really faith-based. And I think when you see other people in that, and that's what we ultimately, all of us are now, is we're examples for other people.
Yeah.
And so how we live out our life is people are going to be like, I'm never going to homeschool, or I want to do that. Show me the way. You know what I mean? So that's like our responsibility now is to, put our all into it. And I think that's what we did from the beginning. But let me tell you, it is the hardest thing ever because you're giving up
Yeah, for
so much of yourself. No matter what anyone says, it's a there's times where I'm like, I need a break like for like 10 years. I don't want to do it anymore. And then I'm like, God help me. And something comes in my path. It's like, wow, that was really, I needed that. And I think that part of the control, letting go of the control of it's all on my shoulders, to remember I have a spouse that's also here. I have God that's leading the way, that I don't have to do it all by myself. And I think that's the key, is it's not all on you.
and I think to be the perfectionism has to go out the window. And I've learned this also. You can either have you can have both possibly, but do you want kids who are really smart, really excel at certain things, or do you want your kids to go to heaven? I think the goal is really to have them to go to heaven, to have them be really good people. Like
Right.
that's the thing,
Sure.
to have them have emotional intelligence, to have faith,
Spiritual life.
have a spiritual life, to really be connected with
Yeah.
their family.
Yeah.
That to me is more important than getting 1,300 on the SATs and going to Harvard. That's just I've evolved into that theory. Where earlier on I may have said, hey, they're not doing enough school, they're not getting enough good grades.
Call me. How many hours did you do? I'm like, I don't know.
Well, you don't really need to with homeschool. So I did homeschool with Elliot for like VPK, and then I went back to work because he went back to school. So we put her in for kindergarten, but I did a kindergarten program, and I will say the most joyful thing was teaching her how to read. Like this child went into kindergarten, and I mean, she just excels, and that's the thing is it's not like she's having the hardest thing for her with school is not being with us. And that to me tells me everything that I need to know.
Yes.
And I truly believe that children need to be with their parents, and that there's something, I just think God has designed mothers to be the one to steward these children into the world. And like you said, and I had this realization of like, and my parents are very much, it's probably like the biggest hurdle we have to jump through is just, they haven't said anything, but I know because everything's about accolades, and I'm just like, I just want, and they're not faith, they don't have a strong faith. So, but for us, it's like, we just want our kids to, and our future children, but like, we just want our kids to go to heaven and know God, and honestly be like really good people, and
raise a good human.
Whatever they do in life, it will come from that, and they'll be successful at whatever they do. So yeah, I'm very excited because we're making the transition so that I can be home with her. I'm like very excited, and I'm also just I also have connected with so many moms that are homeschooling. Like
Mhm.
now it is, and this is probably cool for you guys to see. Like now it's like the thing to do. I
It
think in the
is.
past 20 years,
Yep.
the amount of homeschooled families has just drastically increased. And so there's co-ops and programs,
Mhm.
and she wants to learn how to play guitar and
Mhm.
sing. She's like, I want to be
The
a Christian worship.
opportunities.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm just like,
Oh,
I would
opportunities are
love that.
incredible.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah. So it's
And you're
very,
doing them together, which is
yeah,
the most, like what you said is so accurate.
yeah,
You know, I think society, it's just a recent thing where we separate the whole family. It's like,
yeah.
where did that come from? It's definitely not from God. Where we're
I
separating
have a lot of
everyone.
theories. I did
Yeah.
like a whole coming from the space I was in
Yep.
like the feminine empowerment space. I literally took the year the Holy
Hmm.
Spirit was driving in of just like you need to
Hmm.
understand the roots of
Hmm.
feminism and all of
Yep.
this. And like I just had the biggest revelation of like this is lit and this is like part of Meet at the Well. It's just we just have understood that the enemy's attacking families right now and has been. And there's yeah, it's by design. It's not God's design, but it's by a design that is meant to keep families separated. And
Mhm.
so, yeah, I'm excited to just see how it goes. And she's a
Mm.
brilliant little girl. And then we're also praying for more babies. We're just praying for multiplication right now. And yeah, yeah,
Beautiful. I think what helped us, maybe not my husband, but for me, because when if we came around someone that was not okay, or even my mother-in-law, who she's okay with it now
yeah,
after all these years. But when I would say, you know, it's really working really well for our family right now,
mm,
people would be okay with it for some reason. Because how could you argue that? And you're using the word right now because you're giving them, it's like, okay, maybe it's not forever. I'll
yeah,
just, you know what I mean? It's almost like you're giving them a little bit because you want them to stop bothering you ultimately. But I
yeah,
think that was super helpful for anyone listening, homeschooling or doing whatever. That was a helpful comment that I would give
Mhm.
people.
Yeah,
yeah. I love that. Any
that's
last
awesome.
questions as we wrap up? This is really good. Thank you guys for coming
Yeah,
on.
thank you guys so much. No, I think Lauren and I kind of both went into this episode or this podcast interview with just, like she said, trying to pick your guys' brains. And I think there's a lot of overlap with you guys and your faith and business and lifestyle. And we just wanted to really take it as an opportunity to kind of learn and actually get some advice from people,
For us and the listeners,
for
like
the
it's
listeners
Mhm.
as
just
well, of course.
we have
Yeah.
a lot of young families and young
Mhm.
couples that are listening, and it is really cool to see, just successful marriage, successful happy kids.
Hmm.
I heard this once that when you're in church, don't go to the couple that's like separate from each other. Go
Yeah.
to the couple where they're older than you and they're still holding hands and they
Mhm.
seem happy. So yeah, you guys came into literally the day I was like, I want to do more. I want to do interviews now for Meet at the Well. I received your email and I was like, oh, this is perfect. So God's opening up the doors.
I love
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Thank you. How can people connect with you? How can they get your book, Gino? How can they work with you?
I'll let my wife share.
Yeah.
Okay, barbara360.com. Gino's book is on Amazon.
Hmm.
It's also on the website. You
Mhm.
Yeah.
can join us on School, SKO, right? The SK one.
School.
Spelt wrong.
Yeah.
SKOOL. Yeah. I get the
Yes.
ads all the time.
Yes.
We're on there. Visit our podcasts on YouTube, Barbara 360.
And the only other, I guess, avenue that I would tell you to go and check out is on barbaro360.com. We have a money quiz
Mhm.
and we have a
Cool.
business archetype quiz. So
I
just to
love
start that relationship that you have with money,
Yeah.
the words that pop up, the feelings that pop up, and it's just a great way to start having that internal dialogue and start becoming aware of how you are towards money and your relationship with money.
I
Yeah.
love that. That's awesome.
Cool. We'll have to take it and
Yeah, we'll check
keep
that
you
out.
guys posted. Thank you so much. Thank
Yeah,
you for
thank
your
you guys.
time. Guys, please connect with Julia and Gino and plug into their resources and connect with them online, read the book. And yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you guys so much.
Thanks,
Thanks
guys.
both.
All right. Bye bye.